Hello friends, and welcome back to my cottage kitchen. One of my main goals here on my channel is to help inspire you to cook more meals at home with real food to enjoy with your family, because eating healthy food and time spent around the table is so important. And one of the best kitchen tools or appliances to help in this mission is the good old trusty slow cooker. So today I'm going to share with you guys a few meals that you can put together in your slow cooker. And there's a few reasons actually why I love the slow cooker for meals. And that is one, because they're very flexible as far as timing goes. Slow cook meals are always started well in advance of when you're going to eat them. So that gives you a lot of flexibility to play with. Maybe you work outside the home, but you can get a crock pot meal going in the morning, maybe even make it the night before and you actually start it the next day. And even if it's only gonna be cooking for a few hours, it'll keep it warm for you until you get home. The other thing I love about slow cookers is just the variety of meals that you can make in them. I think we automatically assume or think of like soups and stews and chilies, all of which are great options, but there are really so many meals beyond just those basics that you can make in a slow cooker. There is truly an abundance of different meals that you can make in a slow cooker, but if you guys want to see some of my personal favorites, then let's get cooking. Okay, so this first one is enchilada soup, and I love making some kind of Mexican inspired, whether it's like enchilada soup actually using enchilada sauce, or it's more of like a taco soup in the slow cooker. And I love this for a few reasons. One, it's pretty much dump and go. You just throw everything in. You do have to shred up the chicken later, but it doesn't take long at all. So it's very simple to just throw in and get going. But the other reason I love this is because anything that is like taco related can be zhuzhed up with toppings and like customized with toppings. So you get your enchilada soup going in the slow cooker. It'll just cook all day. You can just forget about it. And then you'll come back later, shred up the chicken, add in, maybe some cheese, but then you can top it with whatever you want. So tortilla chips, cheese, avocado, cilantro, sour cream, jalapeno peppers, pickled red onions. I mean, basically think of all the taco toppings, but it's just kind of in a soup form. And how I typically serve this kind of thing to my kids is sometimes I'll put it in a bowl. It usually doesn't go over as well. They kind of like things more separated out. So I'll just make a plate I'll kind of like pull out like the chicken and the beans and the corn, and I'll kind of put that on the plate. And then I'll get them some sour cream and maybe some like tortilla chips. And it just kind of creates their own little enchilada soup plate. And that seems to go over the best with my kids. And then for my husband, we just like top it sky high with all the yummy toppings. And it's so, so good. When it comes to your health, creating healthier eating habits is one of the most direct ways to create transformation, but actually forging those new habits in a way that's sustainable can be very challenging. And that's why I am very excited to tell you guys about Nourish. Nourish is the easiest way to find and speak to a registered dietitian that's all covered by your insurance. If you guys know me, you know that I myself am a registered dietitian, and I actually started out my career in one-on-one nutrition counseling. And through all of that experience, I can tell you firsthand just how valuable it is to be able to sit down and talk with a qualified professional to share, okay, here's where I'm trying to go, here's where I'm at now. Not only will they be able to equip you with that evidence-based nutrition knowledge, but they're gonna be able to help tailor it to your exact circumstances, which is just invaluable because our healthy eating habits and any attempts at change that we're going to make are so intermingled with our daily lives. Something I absolutely love about Nourish is their dietitians are there to help you create lifelong sustainable skills when it comes to healthy eating. There is no quick fixes, no fad diets, which I know can be really attractive, but they don't actually get you any closer to creating sustainable healthy change that the Nourish dietitians can actually help you achieve. And no matter what you personally are trying to focus on, maybe it's gut health, maybe it's just women's health, maybe it's nutrition for athletic training or prenatal nutrition, nutrition. Maybe you have diabetes. Maybe you want a healthier relationship with food. Working with a dietitian is just so helpful to not only target those goals, but then create the small, doable changes that are actually gonna fit into your unique lifestyle. And the best part is Nourish accepts hundreds of different insurances across all 50 states. In fact, 94% of Nourish patients pay $0 out of pocket. To me, I just see it as a no-brainer because I know the value of working with a dietitian one-on-one, especially if you're the kind of person that really likes preventative versus reactive healthcare. So if you guys are ready to check out Nourish for yourself, I will leave a link down in my description box below. You can sign up in just 5 minutes and get started with your first appointment. Okay, so this next one is one of those meals you wouldn't typically make in a crock pot. And this is something that I grew up eating, so it's kind of nostalgic for me. My mom would always make it when I was a kid, and that is chicken divan, which is basically like a creamy chicken and broccoli cheese casserole, but you can make it in the slow cooker. And this is actually the first time I've ever made it in the slow cooker because I always just bake it because that's what she always did. But oh my gosh, it was so much better. The chicken was just so tender and delicious. So I do make my own cream of chicken soup, which you should totally do because if you've ever seen the ingredients in those little Campbell's cans, it's kind of horrifying. I will leave a link down below to the recipe I always use to whip up cream of chicken soup super fast. And I just doubled it this time, so it'd have like 2 cans worth. And then I'll also leave the recipe down below that I use that inspired this meal, but it was super easy. You basically just throw all of the like the creamy sauce together. You add it in with the chicken, you let that cook for several hours, and then you go in later and you add in the broccoli and the cheese, and you just kind of mix it all up. I think the recipe technically said like just put the cheese on top and let it melt, but I just mixed it all together and it was so good. Now I usually serve chicken divan over rice, but you can also like it's often served with biscuits, which just sounds really delicious, but it's a lot more it's not quite so simple and straightforward as just like throwing rice in your Instant Pot. And I think one of the reasons I loved it so much more in the slow cooker versus baked in the oven is because I shredded the chicken versus like cubing the chicken. So it just mixed in so much better and it was just seriously so good. So we serve it over top of rice. And again, like for my kids, I separate the rice and then the chicken divan on the plate. And one of the reasons I always serve rice with dinner is because I know that my kids will eat it. This is one of those meals where this is like pushing the boundaries a little bit. Like my oldest will eat it. She's fine with it. But the toddlers are so-so. And then the baby pretty much eats anything I put in front of her because she's just still kind of in that phase of like exploration. But for this meal, I did... Now that I'm watching this back. Normally I separate it out, but I didn't. I put them all together. So sometimes I like to, throw it at them to kind of see what sticks. And I did top it with breadcrumbs. Typically the recipe is like fried onions, but I don't typically keep those on hand. So I just sprinkled on a little breadcrumbs for crunch and it was so creamy and delicious, like perfect comfort food, but full of protein and fiber and nutrients. All right, next up, we are making one of the best things to make in a slow cooker, and that is barbecue pulled pork. So we are going on year 2 of buying a whole pig. So our deep freezer is very full with these giant cuts of meat. And I will tell you, I find these very intimidating. Like I'm the kind of girl like grew up just going to the grocery store and, buying very simple cuts of meat. So this puts me out of my comfort zone. And for the longest time, I was like, I don't know what to do with that. What am I going to do with that? But really, it's so simple. And of course, there's a jillion recipes on the internet telling you exactly what to do. So it's really not that hard. So again, I'll link the recipe down below that I used to cook up this barbecue pork, but it was very simple. It was just barbecue sauce. I didn't have any fresh garlic. All my garlic had gone bad and I didn't realize that, so I had to throw it all out. If anyone has any tips for keeping your garlic, please let me know because it never seems to work for me. And I'm about to plant a bunch of garlic in my raised beds, so not trying to have all of that go to waste when I can pull it out in the summertime. Anywho, so to go along with the barbecue pork, I did not just do sandwiches because, I don't know, I just don't really like sandwiches for dinner. It just never really sounds that good to me. And then my kids just eat the rolls and that's not really what I want either. But anyway, so I did barbecue pulled pork bowls. And I did also find this recipe online. I didn't follow it exactly, but I did make coleslaw to go with it. And then instead of doing rice on the bottom, because again, we do a lot of rice and sometimes rice just gets boring, I actually roasted up a bunch of potatoes for like a starch to put, with it or underneath. And I love roasted potatoes. It's probably one of my favorite, technically it's a starchy vegetable, not a regular vegetable, but I mean, one of my favorite veggies, hands down. Like there's just nothing better than potatoes just drizzled in oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and just roasted until they are crunchy and caramelized on the outside and creamy on the inside. My mouth is like literally watering as I'm doing this voiceover because I just love potatoes. And I feel like as we're moving into the colder months, like it's root vegetable season. So potatoes all day long. I'm not sad about it. So I did potatoes on the bottom for the bowls and then topped it with the pork, added some coleslaw, and then actually did pickles on top. And this was so good. It was just such a different way to eat barbecue pork, and we all enjoyed it. Okay, next up, I'm making a chili, and I'm actually making buffalo chicken chili. I have been personally on a little bit of a buffalo chicken kick recently because we started making buffalo chicken dip for football games, and now it just tastes so good. So I made buffalo chicken chili. Again, I'll link the recipe I used that inspired this meal. I picked this recipe for two reasons. One, it was very much dump and go, and it was very few ingredients. I did add an onion because I just felt like it needed something, but otherwise I followed the recipe, and I picked it because it was super easy, but it was also pretty bland, as in like simple as far as ingredients go. And I didn't add very much hot sauce because my kids don't like spicy things. So I added just a little bit just to kind of give it a little bit of flavor. But my goal was more to have like chicken and beans to serve them. And then I also, again, made rice. So this is just one of the ways that I make like one meal for the whole family. But obviously, like I have little kids with young palates that are still developing and they don't like everything, but they're never going to open up and try new things if you just always make separate meals and just feed them what you know they like. So you do have to kind of stretch them a little bit, but this is just like one of the ways that I'm like make that happen. So I made it pretty bland and served it to them as just like chicken and beans on the plate with some rice. And then for my husband and I, we ate it like as a chili in bowls. And then I added a bunch more hot sauce to mine because I like it spicy and I want that buffalo flavor. But then we also topped it with green onions. I feel like we could have even gone, like I wish I had added more stuff, honestly, like some cheese and maybe even a little sour cream, but it was still pretty good. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope this gives you a good jumping off point to pull out that slow cooker and utilize it more to create healthy homemade meals for your family without slaving away in the kitchen. Thank you guys again so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.